we know that the smaller states, the OECS says, the St. Vincent states, those are going to become exceedingly vulnerable
Yes.
to countries that are going to try and give them money and buy political support.
Venezuela.
So, Venezuela, I was just going to come to that example. So Venezuela is the classic. They get
Yep.
Bird Island, they get whatever. Guyana now should step up and engage those countries in the OECS, engage all those smaller economies in the region, and articulate a plan that will give them a level of economic security and development. And as part of that package, we want to be able to have their support, not only in terms of our border, but their support in terms of an economic integration plan for the Caribbean, which
Yes.
will be driven by these three economies. So we don't want to be able to, as a result of recklessness, oversight, negligence, place Guyana in a position where we are in the center of some global war between economic superpowers or actual superpowers. We don't want to be there. We can't get involved in that game.
You're already there.
Skills? I know we're there, but we don't have the skills. And that's why the foreign ministry in Guyana has to be the best of the best in the Caribbean. We have to hire the best that we can find, intellectuals, and they don't have to come from Guyana. We have to hire the best in the Caribbean.
Yes.
So that we have such a formidable force in our foreign ministry that we can anticipate 10, 15 years down the line how we navigate Guyana away from getting
Amen.
caught in the crosshairs.
Sir John Carter days. Sir John Carter et al. Those days, and Sir Sridhar
So
Ramphal those days.
this takes us nicely, and I'm hoping that you all would have noticed my T-shirt today.
Yes, Essequibo belongs.
Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
I
And I
noticed.
actually have, this T-shirt has the complete proper map.
Guyana should, and the Army in particular, have a range of options of scenarios that are likely to happen, and therefore the Army must have a range of reactions and responses that they have. In coordination with that, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the global, I don't want to say propaganda, the global communication center coming out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should have specific scenarios. So one of the obvious scenarios that I'm sure the Guyana Defense Force has is what happens if the attack doesn't come from the Venezuelan army, but it comes from the sindicatos or some criminal element who trigger or provoke a reaction. How are you going to deal with it? So, for example, I would imagine that they must have figured that at some stage, there is the real possibility the criminal element will make an incursion or attack the soldiers. We should not be caught flat-footed like we appear to have been done. We should have, okay, if one of our guys get hit and they get hit at Itorengang, we have backup that will move, we will do X, Y, and Z, and at the same time, immediately with that, we will issue the following press releases because the world is instant.
Yes.
So that we immediately, as we get the information in Georgetown that X, Y, and Z, the hot response unit in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should be touching all the major capitals of people friendly to us, reporting on that incident before Venezuela could breathe. So that we set the scene for anything that comes after that, because you've set the ground, you send the pictures, you set the information. I would assume again, if we are the Army, that amongst the scenarios, when you model out the scenarios, you say, well, look, if you get attacked, what do? One of the things you can do is that you can buy the satellite time that will tell you exactly what happened.
Yes.
You don't have to go to the U.S. Defense Department. You just buy the satellite time. You call up whoever it is, GenSat, this sat, or whatever sat, and say, we want the footage for the last 6 hours on the border, and you will get it instantly.
Yes.
So you can get that within 15 minutes of an attack, because all of that should be put in place. And therefore, you can see from what happened that these guys come from an army base, how they operated, where did they go to. And God forbid, if this was indeed a provocative act, what happens if another set of sindicatos somewhere else on that Cuyuni River launched an attack on a village? Would you believe this? we didn't even have the capacity to move the wounded off the battlefield. The wounded didn't even end up in a local medical hospital in one of the villages. They went to one of the communities, Mapata, and it's the villages that had to look after them because we didn't even have the capacity to fly into that area. Now, if we are that backward, and then the following day, the head of state says, we can have an investigation and then react. What that says to me is that you are completely, or we, sorry, because it's not a political issue, we are completely ill-prepared and unprepared for anything looking like a moderately sophisticated act of provocation. We don't even have the ability, is that there are a lot of able-bodied young men of military age coming into this country ostensibly as economic refugees. Now, just think about that.
Yeah.
You know how easy it is to access weapons in Guyana. So if you let 800, don't even let's go to 1,000, 800 able-bodied military-trained men come in as economic refugees and you strategically put them in different places. So you create a distraction at the border like we had. And then they create a distraction in Mabaruma. We send all our resources out to wherever it is. And then they create a distraction in Grove, where they're living on the bank of the river. Or they create a distraction somewhere else.
Yep.
Total chaos, you know. Guyana will go into panic.
Yep.
It will go into panic. And that panic includes the military. So we don't seem to understand the level of sophistication of our adversaries.
Yes.
This is not a criticism of the government. This is a comment on how fragile our existence is. And the only way to deal with that is to have a national plan in relation to the protection of your borders. And you need to have a military that is agile, that anticipates any potential scenario, and coupled with that, a foreign affairs that is so in tune that it alerts every one of our key allies that, look, potentially we have a story. So if they got shot at 3 o'clock, by 10 o'clock that evening, Security Council should have been notified. Venezuela should be saying, hey, guys, we gotta, sorry, we're gonna back up. And that's exactly what happened when Burnham was in office.
Yes.
Venezuela actually said, hey, you guys are too aggressive. Nobody wants to talk to us from the third world. We're supposed to be in the non-aligned movement. And that's where you need to have them.
Yep.
Because we don't have the military capacity, but we have the ability to respond at least and delay any sort of, that gives us time to act in the diplomatic front, and hopefully as a result of the commitment of our friends, to have some level of reaction.
I want to say that, part of the challenge in this situation, and thankfully we've stated it over and over, the political opposition, this is APNU, AFC, the PNC, we all stand united on the importance of protecting our landscape, what is Guyana, and we are united on the approach for with regard to the border and the Venezuela situation. In fact, it was Dr. Shamir will remember, it was under our administration that we decided that, since for years this good officer process that never went anywhere, we went to the International Court of Justice to get settlement. And we are awaiting the results. But what is disturbing is that even at the parliamentary level, there's a parliamentary committee on foreign relations. And that committee has not met for the longest while. The government has a bilateral commission also, where they have heads of agencies. We've not seen any reports of that meeting recently. And so one of the things I would really like to call on and call for is that those agencies that bring together the expertise of all Guyanese, Guyanese experts, regardless of their political affiliation, those groups must be doing their work. And of course, the people of Guyana need to be informed
Yes.
I express our concern to the Guyanese living on that border area because we don't see in the public any information to reassure us. The army or the government hasn't reported to the people of Guyana that this is what is going to happen, this is what they're going to put in place. And as a people, we know that our people will worry and will need, to know that there's support and there's a plan in
Our
place.
government seems, and I'm getting the background report, to be laid back, laissez-faire, and they seem to depend that the Southern Command will come to their assistance. But let me tell you, that dog is not going to hunt. Southern Command is not going to come to Guyana assistance. You got to be able, you have the skills, you have the technologies, you have the people on both sides of the aisle